This video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It does not promote or endorse any belief system. There is a story hidden just beneath the surface of our own. It is a history written not in the grand monuments of empires, but in whispered secrets and coded symbols. This is the history of the occult. The word itself simply means hidden. Hidden from the mainstream. Hidden from the uninitiated. For millennia, these traditions have flowed like an underground river, shaping cultures, inspiring art, challenging the very nature of reality. They promise a different kind of knowledge, a gnosis, a direct personal experience of the divine, outside the confines of orthodox belief. This journey we are about to embark upon is not for the faint of heart. It will take us into the shadows of the past. We will walk through the hallowed halls of ancient temples. We will stand beside alchemists in their fume-filled laboratories. We will sit in the secret lodges of fraternities that plotted the course of nations. It is a path that has been walked by sages, mystics, artists, rebels. These were individuals who dared to look beyond the veil. They sought to understand the mechanics of the universe and the untapped potential of the human mind. Their quest was for the hidden threads that connect everything. To many, the occult is a source of fear. It is associated with darkness, forbidden rites, malevolent forces. But this is a simplification, a caricature born from centuries of misunderstanding and persecution. The reality is far more complex and infinitely more fascinating. It is a tapestry woven with threads of philosophy, science, spirituality, art. It is the story of humanity's enduring search for meaning in a world that often seems devoid of it. It is an exploration of power, not just over others, but over oneself. The power to transform, to create, and to become more than what we are. Our exploration will be guided by a central question. How have these secret traditions, often practiced by a select few, managed to exert such a profound influence on the course of human history? How did ideas formulated in the deserts of ancient Egypt find their way into the salons of Renaissance Europe, and from there into the very fabric of our modern world? The answers are not always clear. They are often obscured by allegory and shrouded in paradox. But by tracing these hidden threads, we can begin to see a different picture of our past. A past that is stranger, richer, and more mysterious than we ever imagined. The story begins in the mists of antiquity. Long before the rise of the world's great religions, there were the mystery schools. In the sands of Egypt and the hills of Greece, initiates underwent secret rites of passage. They were taught that the world they saw was merely a shadow of a greater, unseen reality. They learned of the cycles of death and rebirth in nature and within the human soul. These schools, like the Eleusinian mysteries, promised a form of immortality. They offered a way to conquer the fear of death by experiencing a symbolic death and resurrection while still alive. Their knowledge was fiercely guarded, a sacred trust passed from mouth to ear. This concept of a secret, salvific knowledge is the very bedrock of the Western occult tradition. It is the idea that truth is not something to be passively received from an authority. It is something to be actively sought and personally experienced. This is the essence of Gnosticism, a collection of early spiritual movements that saw the material world as a prison created by a lesser deity. The Gnostics believed that a spark of the true divine light was trapped within certain humans. The only way to liberate this spark was through gnosis, a direct, intuitive understanding of the divine that transcended faith and dogma. From these ancient roots, the current of hidden knowledge flowed into new channels. It took the form of Hermeticism, Hermes Trismegistus, thrice greatest Hermes. The Hermetic texts, which appeared in the early centuries of the Common Era, blended Egyptian and Greek thought. They taught of a single, universal mind and the axiom, as above, so below. This principle suggests that the microcosm of humanity and the macrocosm of the universe are reflections of one another. To understand one is to understand the other. This idea would become a cornerstone of occult philosophy for the next 2,000 years. It implied that by studying the patterns of the stars, one could understand the destiny of a person. By purifying the elements within a laboratory, an alchemist could purify their own soul. The universe was not a cold, mechanical place, but a living, breathing organism, bound together by hidden sympathies and correspondences. This worldview placed humanity at the center of creation, not as a humble servant, but as a potential co-creator, a magus capable of wielding the subtle forces of nature to bring about change in conformity with will. Table of Contents, Part 2, Act 1, Ancient Roots. Section 1, The Land of the Pharaohs. Section 2, The Keepers of Sacred Rites. Section 3, The Myth of Osiris and Isis. Section 4, The Grecian Mysteries of Eleusis. Section 5, The Promise of Immortality. Section 6, The Birth of Hermeticism. Section 7, Hermes Trismegistus, the Thrice Great. Section 8, The Emerald Tablet's Secret. Section 9, As Above, So Below. Section 10, The Gnostic Awakening. Our journey into the hidden history of the occult begins in the most ancient of lands. We travel back in time to the Kingdom of Egypt, flourishing for millennia along the fertile banks of the Nile, under the watchful eye of a silent sphinx, within the shadow of the Great Pyramids, where the first seeds of Western esotericism were sown. The Egyptian worldview was not merely a religion, it was a complete cosmology, a grand, intricate system where the divine, the natural, and the human were inextricably linked. They saw their world as a reflection of a higher, more perfect reality, a celestial kingdom ruled by gods and goddesses whose stories played out in the stars above. They believed in a life after death and dedicated their culture to preparing for it. Their elaborate tombs, filled with treasures and texts, were not just final resting places. This journey was not guaranteed. It required knowledge, specific spells, and a pure heart. This journey was not guaranteed. It required knowledge, specific spells, and a pure heart. The famous Book of the Dead was not a single book, but a collection of magical texts, a guidebook to navigate the dangers of the afterlife, to overcome monstrous guardians, and to pass the final judgment. The heart weighed against a feather. This focus on sacred knowledge, or Heka, was central to their system. Heka was more than spellcasting. It was the power the gods used to create and sustain the universe, the energy animating all of creation. Priests and priestesses were trained to wield this power through precise rituals, incantations, and consecrated objects. By speaking the right words and performing the right actions, they could influence the world of the gods and shape the physical world for the kingdom's benefit. Temples were models of the cosmos, earthly homes for the divine. Within the Aditon, the Holy of Holies, only the highest priests could enter. Here they performed daily rites to awaken, clothe, and feed the statue of the god, ensuring the deity's presence and favor. That idea of a hidden sacred space, limited to the few with specialized knowledge, will echo through occult traditions for centuries, forming the model of the secret society and the mystical lodge. The priesthood of ancient Egypt was a highly structured and powerful institution, the primary guardian of the nation's spiritual and intellectual heritage. They were not just religious leaders, they were astronomers, physicians, architects, and scribes. They were the keepers of the sacred rites and the interpreters of divine will. To become a priest was to enter a life of rigorous discipline and purification. They were required to shave their bodies, wear only pure white linen garments, and adhere to strict dietary laws. all to maintain a state of ritual purity worthy of standing in the presence of the gods. Their lives were dedicated to the meticulous preservation of tradition. These priests were organized into complex hierarchies. At the top was the high priest, who served the principal deity of a major temple and often acted as a direct advisor to the pharaoh himself. Below him were various orders of priests with specialized roles. Lector priests, the masters of the sacred texts, who would recite hymns and spells during temple ceremonies and funerary rites. Keepers of the hours, who tracked the movements of the stars to determine ritual times. This division created an inner circle, a core of masters who held the deepest secrets. The training of a priest was a long and arduous process, often beginning in childhood. Young acolytes would enter temple schools, known as the House of Life, mastering the complex hieroglyphic and hieratic scripts, memorizing vast amounts of religious texts, and learning the intricate procedures for thousands of different rituals. The House of Life was more than a school. It was the nation's university and library, a repository for all knowledge: theology, medicine, mathematics, magic. It was here that the secret knowledge of the gods was studied, copied, and passed down from one generation to the next. This system of guarded knowledge created a profound separation between the initiated priests and the general populace. Common people would participate in public festivals and leave offerings at the outer courts, but they were never permitted into the inner sanctums. They knew of the gods, but they did not know the secrets of the gods. This separation fostered an aura of immense power and mystery around the priesthood. They were seen as intermediaries, the only ones who could truly commune with the divine forces that governed everything from the flooding of the Nile to the fate of a person's soul after death. At the very heart of Egyptian esoteric belief lies the powerful and enduring myth of Osiris and his devoted wife, Isis. This was not just a story, it was the central drama of their spiritual universe, a divine pattern that explained cycles of life, death, and resurrection. Osiris was the benevolent king of Egypt. He taught humanity the arts of agriculture and civilization. He stood as a symbol of order and life. His jealous brother, Set, the god of chaos and the desert, plotted against him. Set tricked Osiris into a beautifully crafted chest. He sealed it with lead. He cast it into the Nile, a symbolic murder, darkness over light. The grief of Isis was immeasurable. She set out on a desperate search for her husband's body. Her journey took her across the ancient world. After a long search, she found the chest. It had washed ashore and become encased in a great tree. She brought it back to Egypt to revive him. But Set discovered the body. In a final desecration, he dismembered Osiris into 14 pieces. He scattered them across Egypt. The act symbolizes fragmentation, unity shattered into multiplicity. Undeterred, the faithful Isis, often accompanied by her sister Nephthys, began a second, more arduous quest. She traveled the length of the Nile. She gathered every piece of her murdered husband. This remembering is deeply symbolic. It is the spiritual work of gathering lost fragments of knowledge and piecing together a broken truth. With help from the jackal-headed god Anubis and the ibis-headed god Thoth, master of magic and writing, Isis reassembled Osiris's body. She fashioned a phallus of gold to replace the missing part. Through a great act of magic, she conceived a child with him, Horus, the falcon-headed god. Osiris became the king of the underworld. He became the lord of the dead. He became the judge of souls. He embodies the promise that death is a transition, not an end. Every deceased pharaoh was identified with Osiris. Every living pharaoh was the incarnation of Horus. Horus would later avenge his father and reclaim the throne from Set. This myth provided the blueprint for Egyptian funerary rites. Mummification reenacted the reassembly of Osiris. It ensured the deceased could be made whole and attain eternal life in the afterworld, becoming one with the great divine cycle. As the flame of Egyptian civilization began to fade, its embers were carried across the Mediterranean to the shores of Greece. Here, the search for hidden knowledge took on a new form, rooted in philosophy and personal experience. The Eleusinian mysteries were the most famous and revered of these traditions. For nearly 2,000 years, they were held annually in Eleusis, just outside Athens. They were dedicated to Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, and her daughter Persephone, queen of the underworld. The mysteries were based on the Homeric hymn to Demeter. Persephone was abducted by Hades. Demeter fell into deep despair. In her grief, she caused the earth to become barren. No crops would grow. Humanity faced starvation. Zeus intervened and brokered a deal. Persephone was allowed to return to her mother, but she had eaten pomegranate seeds in the underworld, and so she was bound to return there for part of each year. The myth explains the seasons. Winter is Demeter's grief. Spring is the celebration of Persephone's return. Participation was open to anyone who could speak Greek and had not committed murder. Women, slaves, foreigners. This inclusivity was remarkable, yet the rites were shrouded in deepest secrecy. Initiates swore a vow of silence on pain of death. We still do not know the final climactic details of the ceremony. The rites were divided: the lesser mysteries, purification rituals; the greater mysteries, a 9-day pilgrimage from Athens to Eleusis, culminating in a secret, all-night ceremony in the Telesterion. The purpose was to overcome the fear of death. Ancient initiates like Plato, Sophocles, and Cicero spoke of profound, life-changing experiences at Eleusis. They said initiates no longer feared death, but awaited the afterlife with joy. The rites seem to have involved a 3-part process: the dromena, the legomena, and the deicnoumena. The core promise of the Eleusinian mysteries, and indeed many ancient mystery schools, was a form of personal salvation and immortality. This was a radical departure from the state-sponsored public religion. That religion focused on civic duty. It focused on appeasing the Olympian gods for the benefit of the community. The mysteries, by contrast, offered a deeply personal path. They addressed the individual's existential dread. They addressed the universal human fear of oblivion. By participating in the sacred drama of the goddesses, initiates took part in a ritual story. They symbolically experienced Persephone's journey into the underworld and her triumphant return to the light. Initiates internalized the cycle of death and the cycle of rebirth. This experience was said to be so powerful that it completely altered one's perspective on life and death. Cicero wrote, "For it appears to me that among the many exceptional and divine things your Athens has produced and contributed to human life, none is better than those mysteries. For by means of them we have been transformed from a rough and savage way of life to a state of humanity and have been civilized." He continues, saying that initiates have learned not only to live in joy, but also to die with a better hope. This suggests the rites imparted a gnosis, a secret knowledge that assured the soul's survival beyond the grave. Scholars have long speculated about the nature of the final revelation at Eleusis. What could have been so profound as to change a person's entire being? One of the leading theories revolves around the consumption of a sacred beverage known as the kykeon. This was a drink given to the initiates after a period of fasting. R. Gordon Wasson, Albert Hoffman. It is thought the barley used to make the kykeon may have been infected with the ergot fungus, a natural source of psychedelic compounds related to LSD. This would have induced a powerful visionary state, a direct, ecstatic experience of the divine. Whether induced by a psychoactive substance, powerful psychological suggestion, theatrical effects, or a combination of all three, the result was the same. The initiate was granted a vision, a glimpse behind the veil. The world of the living, the world of the spirit. They did not just believe in the afterlife, they felt they had experienced it firsthand. This promise of a blessed immortality, achieved through secret rites and personal experience rather than blind faith, became a powerful undercurrent in Western thought. It laid the spiritual groundwork for later Gnostic traditions, Hermetic traditions. Both sought to liberate the soul from the confines of the material world. As the classical world of Greece and Rome began its long, slow decline, a new spiritual and philosophical synthesis emerged in the cultural melting pot of Hellenistic Egypt. This was the birth of Hermeticism, a tradition that would become one of the most vital currents in the river of Western occultism. Centered in the city of Alexandria, a hub of intellectual and spiritual exchange, Hermeticism blended the ancient wisdom of Egypt with the philosophical sophistication of the Greeks, particularly the ideas of Plato and his followers. It was a complex tapestry of magic, astrology, alchemy, mystical philosophy. The tradition takes its name from its legendary founder, a figure known as Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes the thrice greatest, a syncretic combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. Hermes was messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, god of boundaries and communication. Thoth was the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing, magic, the moon. By merging them into one, the architects of Hermeticism created a supreme patron of hidden knowledge and a mythical source for their sacred texts. Core teachings are in the Corpus Hermeticum and in other texts on astrology, alchemy, and magic attributed to Hermes. These texts were written in Greek in Egypt between the 1st and 3rd centuries CE. They take the form of dialogues, where a master, often Hermes Trismegistus, instructs a disciple on the nature of God, the cosmos, the human soul. They present a path to spiritual regeneration, a way for the soul to ascend the planetary spheres and reunite with its divine source, a state called gnosis, direct knowledge of God. Unlike the state religions of Rome or the emerging orthodoxy of Christianity, Hermeticism had no public congregations. It was a philosophy of the book, a path of individual study and contemplation. It taught the divine was transcendent, existing beyond the material world, and immanent, present within all creation, especially within the human mind. The goal was not worship from afar, but to realize the divine spark within through intellectual and spiritual purification. This radical idea placed immense power and responsibility in the hands of the individual seeker of truth. The figure of Hermes Trismegistus is one of the most enigmatic and influential in the entire history of occultism. He was not seen as a god to be worshipped, but as a primordial sage, a human or semi-divine teacher who lived in the distant past, long before even Moses. To the followers of the Hermetic tradition, he was the first and greatest of all philosophers, the original fountainhead from which all wisdom flowed. It was believed that he had inscribed his profound knowledge of divine and natural secrets onto stone pillars and in sacred books, to be preserved for future generations who were worthy of understanding them. The title thrice greatest has been subject to much interpretation. Some believed it was because he was hailed as the greatest philosopher, the greatest priest, and the greatest king. Others suggested it was because he had mastered the three parts of the wisdom of the whole universe: alchemy, the operation of the sun; astrology, the operation of the stars; theurgy, the operation of the gods. This threefold wisdom encompassed the transformation of matter, the understanding of cosmic destiny, and the practice of divine magic, respectively. He was, in essence, the ultimate master of all secret arts and sciences. The writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus were held in the highest esteem throughout late antiquity and the Middle Ages, not just by pagans, but also by some influential Christian and Islamic thinkers. Clement of Alexandria saw him as an ancient pagan prophet who had foreseen the coming of Christianity. Lactantius saw him as an ancient pagan prophet who had foreseen the coming of Christianity. They believed his writings, though pre-Christian, contained genuine revelations that were compatible with their own faith. This allowed Hermetic ideas to survive and be studied in monasteries and Islamic libraries even after the pagan temples were closed, preserving them through the so-called Dark Ages. This perception of Hermes as a real historical figure, an ancient Egyptian sage, persisted for over 1,000 years. It gave the Hermetic writings an aura of immense authority and antiquity. The idea that one could read the very words of a master who lived at the dawn of civilization was a powerful draw for mystics and philosophers. They believed they were tapping into a pristine, uncorrupted source of divine knowledge, a Prisca Theologia, or ancient theology, that predated and underpinned all other religions and philosophies. This belief would fuel a major revival of occultism during the Renaissance. Among all the texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, none is more famous or more central to the occult tradition than the Tabula Smaragdina, or the Emerald Tablet. This short, cryptic text, consisting of only a dozen or so aphorisms, is considered the primary source for alchemy and Hermetic philosophy. Legend claims it was discovered in a cave, clutched in the hands of the corpse of Hermes Trismegistus. The original tablet, said to be made of emerald or green stone, has been lost to history. The text survives only through Latin translations, Arabic translations. The power of the Emerald Tablet lies in its profound and poetic ambiguity. It does not provide practical recipes or clear instructions. Instead, it offers a set of principles, a condensation of cosmic law into a few powerful sentences. It purports to reveal the secret of the one thing, the primordial substance from which all things in the universe are created. The text is a puzzle, a meditative key designed to unlock a higher state of consciousness in the reader who can penetrate its multiple layers of meaning. For centuries, alchemists and mystics have pored over its words, seeking to unravel its ultimate secret. The opening lines are the most famous in the entire lexicon of Western esotericism. That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. This is the great axiom of correspondence, the master key of all occult thought. It declares that the universe is a unified whole, a single organism. The same laws and patterns operate on all levels of reality, from the grandest movements of the galaxies to the smallest functions of the human body and soul. The macrocosm and the microcosm are reflections of each other. The tablet goes on to describe the creation of the world in allegorical, alchemical terms. It speaks of the sun as its father, the moon as its mother, the wind carrying it in its belly, the earth as its nurse. It describes a process of separation, refinement, reunification. Separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross, gently and with great ingenuity. This is the formula for the great work, the alchemical process of transformation. It is both a physical operation to create the philosopher's stone and a spiritual operation to purify the soul, separating the divine spirit from the coarse material body to achieve enlightenment. Section 9. As above, so below. The principle of as above, so below is the single most important concept in the history of Western magic and occultism. It is the philosophical foundation upon which countless systems of divination, ritual, spiritual development. It transforms the universe into a meaningful, interconnected web of correspondences. Everything in the cosmos is linked by a subtle network of sympathy and antipathy. A plant on Earth might correspond to a particular planet in the heavens, a specific metal, a certain animal, a day of the week, a part of the human body. This worldview gave rise to the complex art of astrology. If the microcosm of a human being is a reflection of the macrocosm of the heavens, then the pattern of the stars and planets at birth must hold the key to their character, their strengths, their weaknesses, their destiny. The horoscope was a map of the heavens above that could be read to understand the life below. Similarly, a magician could use these correspondences to draw down celestial influences. By surrounding oneself with the colors, herbs, symbols associated with Jupiter, for example, one could attract Jupiter's qualities of expansion, wealth, authority. The principle also extends to the realm of the spirit. As above, so below implies that the human being is a miniature replica of the divine. Just as God is composed of certain principles or powers, the human soul contains those same powers in a latent, undeveloped state. The great work of the occultist is to awaken and balance these divine forces within. The journey of the sun through the zodiac becomes a metaphor for the soul's journey towards enlightenment. The alchemical transformation of lead into gold in the laboratory mirrors the spiritual transformation of the base, ignorant soul into a refined, illuminated spirit. This doctrine is fundamentally empowering. It places humanity in a unique and privileged position within the cosmos. We are not merely passive subjects of a distant God or a mechanical universe. We are active participants, co-creators with the divine. By understanding the laws of correspondence, the magus can learn to manipulate the threads of reality. The famous definition of magic from Aleister Crowley, centuries later, science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will, has its deepest roots in this Hermetic principle. The universe is a great instrument, and by knowing its laws, one can learn to play it. Section 10. The Gnostic Awakening, flowing alongside Hermeticism, another, more radical movement, Gnosticism. The term Gnostic, from Greek gnosis, knowledge, not ordinary intellectual knowledge, direct knowing, intuitive knowing, salvific knowing, a personal revelation of one's divine nature. Gnostics, diverse groups, flourished in the first centuries CE, often in competition with emerging Orthodox Christianity, a dramatically different interpretation of the world, a different interpretation of God, a different view of human destiny. The material world was not divine creation, it was a cosmic error, a prison for the spirit, the true God, a perfect, unknowable monad. The monad existed in the pleroma, realm of pure spirit. From the pleroma emanated lesser beings, the aeons. Crisis. One low aeon fell from the pleroma. Often this aeon, Sophia, wisdom. In her passion and ignorance, she birthed a flawed creator, the demiurge. Demiurge often equated with the Old Testament God. He fashioned the physical universe and humanity. He believed himself the one true God, unaware of the higher realm. He trapped divine sparks inside material creations. These were fragments of Sophia's fallen light, human condition, profound alienation. We are divine spirits trapped in a corrupt world. We suffer spiritual amnesia, unaware of home and nature. Salvation doesn't come from the demiurge or his laws. Salvation comes only from gnosis. A messenger from the pleroma must descend, identified as Christ, or as Seth. Awakening, reception of knowledge, remembering who we are and where we came from. Once awakened, liberation begins, freeing the inner spark. From the prison of the body and cosmos, ascend through planetary spheres ruled by the archons, finally reunited with the true God in the pleroma. This vision of imprisonment and liberation shaped the occult imagination forever. The end of the Middle Ages gave way to the Renaissance. Sunlit libraries and new manuscripts flooded Europe. This rebirth was not just a revolution in art or science, it was a reawakening of ancient magical and philosophical traditions. Scholars and artists turned back to Greece and to Rome and rediscovered texts lost for centuries. The dialogues of Plato, the mystical Neoplatonist treatises, and the Corpus Hermeticum, books of Hermes Trismegistus. This rediscovery ignited an intellectual fire. The Renaissance mind saw no conflict between science, art, religion, magic. They treated these as interwoven paths toward understanding God, humanity, and the cosmos. The universe was not a machine, but a living work of art, made by a divine artist. The Magus, the magician, sought to understand hidden harmonies and secret sympathies in nature. By learning nature's language, they could join creation's work, moving from mere observers to active agents of change. Renaissance magi were not cave-dwelling sorcerers, but respected public figures, philosophers, physicians, astronomers, advisors to princes and popes. The heart of the early Renaissance and the epicenter of this magical revival was the city of Florence. Here, under the lavish patronage of the powerful Medici family, a circle of brilliant thinkers gathered to form the Platonic Academy. Led by the philosopher Marsilio Ficino, their mission was to resurrect the wisdom of ancient Greece. Around the year 1460, a pivotal moment. An agent for Cosimo de' Medici returned from Macedonia with Greek manuscripts. Among them, a nearly complete Corpus Hermeticum. Cosimo, old and frail, ordered Ficino to stop translating Plato and focus on Hermes Trismegistus. He argued Hermes was even more ancient, a purer source than Plato, a direct link to ancient Egyptian theology. Ficino's Latin translation, completed in 1463, was an instant sensation. It spread like wildfire across Europe's intellectual centers, printed and reprinted. Ficino's brilliant young colleague, Giovanni Pico della Mirandola, created the most famous synthesis of Renaissance magic. Pico was a prodigy who mastered many languages: Latin, Greek, Hebrew, Arabic. In 1486, aged 23, Pico composed 900 theses drawn from a vast array of sources and offered to debate them publicly in Rome. He introduced the debate with the oration on the dignity of man. In it, he presents a new myth of creation. After God made the universe and all creatures, he wished to create a being to appreciate its beauty. Man was created indeterminate, placed at the center to shape his own self. This was a radical manifesto for human potential. To Pico, humanity could degenerate into beasts, regenerate into angels, or become one with God. The key to this ascent, he said, was magic and Kabbalah. The work of Ficino and Pico represents the grand synthesis that defines Renaissance magic. It was a bold attempt to weave together three powerful threads of thought into a single, cohesive system. The first thread was the Neoplatonic philosophy that Ficino had revived. This provided the cosmic map, a hierarchical universe of descending levels of reality, from the ultimate, unknowable God, the One, down through the realms of divine intellect, the world soul, the planetary spheres, and finally to the material world. The goal of the human soul was to ascend back up this golden chain of being to its divine source. The second thread was the Hermetic tradition, which provided the operating principles. The axiom, as above, so below, was the key. It taught that every level of this Neoplatonic universe was connected through a web of sympathies and correspondences. The Magus could learn to manipulate these connections. By using the correct material objects, plants, metals, symbols, that corresponded to a higher celestial power, one could create a channel to draw that power down into the physical world. This was the basis for talismanic magic, the creation of charged objects to bring about specific effects, like health, love, or success. The third and most explosive thread, introduced by Pico, was the Jewish mystical tradition of Kabbalah. Specifically, Christian thinkers adopted the Kabbalistic tree of life, a diagram of 10 spheres, or Sephiroth, that represent the attributes of God and the path of divine creation. They also became fascinated with gematria, the Kabbalistic method of finding secret meanings in holy texts by converting letters into numbers. Pico and his followers believed that the name of Jesus could be found hidden within the Old Testament through Kabbalistic methods, and that the names of angels could be used to perform an even more powerful form of divine ceremonial magic. This new synthesis created a Christian Kabbalah, which its proponents believed was the most powerful and holy form of magic possible. It was a theurgy, a god work, that aimed to command angels and celestial spirits not for selfish ends, but to understand the secrets of God's creation and to help bring about the redemption of the world. This potent and controversial blend of Neoplatonism, Hermeticism, and Kabbalah became the very definition of high magic, or ceremonial magic, in the West, a tradition that would be codified and expanded upon by the most famous magician of the era, Cornelius Agrippa. Just as the Age of Reason reached its zenith, a powerful countercurrent began to emerge. The stark rationalism and materialism of the Enlightenment left many with spiritual emptiness. A romantic yearning for mystery, emotion, the supernatural began to stir across Europe. This reaction paved the way for a spectacular revival of occultism in the 19th century. People grew tired of a world explained solely by mechanical laws. They longed once more for a universe of invisible forces, hidden meanings, untapped human potential. The stage was set for the grand return of the Magus in a new modern guise. One of the first sensational expressions was animal magnetism, pioneered by Franz Anton Mesmer. Mesmer proposed a subtle, invisible fluid that flows through the universe and the body. He claimed imbalances in this magnetic fluid caused disease. Mesmer said he could manipulate it with hand gestures and passes or magnetized objects to restore harmony and healing. His clinics in Paris became a sensation. They attracted the aristocracy and created a public furor. A scientific commission, including Benjamin Franklin, dismissed Mesmer's physical fluid theory. Yet his work had an unintended consequence. Followers like the Marquis de Puységur found the mesmeric crisis could induce a peaceful trance. They called it artificial somnambulism, hypnotism. In trance, patients seemed to show psychic abilities, diagnosing illnesses, demonstrating telepathy, seeing things at a distance. This opened a new door. Occult exploration shifted toward the powers of the human mind. The disparate threads of mesmerism, spiritualism, Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism were woven together into a coherent modern system by one towering figure, a French writer and former Catholic deacon named Alphonse Louis Constant, who wrote under the Hebrew pseudonym Eliphas Lévi. In the mid-19th century, Lévi single-handedly revived and redefined Western magic for the modern age. He took the dusty, forgotten grimoires and the complex philosophies of the Renaissance and presented them in a new, romantic, and intellectually compelling way. Lévi's great contribution was his synthesis. He declared that all the ancient mythologies, all the world's religions, and all the magical systems were expressions of a single, universal, secret doctrine. The key to this doctrine, he argued, was the Kabbalah, specifically the Tarot. He was the first to explicitly and systematically link the 22 major arcana of the Tarot deck to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the 22 paths on the Kabbalistic tree of life. He linked them, transforming the Tarot. It turned the Tarot from a simple fortune-telling game into a profound philosophical machine, a visual textbook of cosmic law and a map for spiritual development. In his seminal works, such as Transcendental Magic, its doctrine and ritual, Lévi introduced the core concepts that would define modern occultism. He popularized the term astral light to describe the universal medium, the subtle substance of all creation, which holds all images and ideas. Magic, for Lévi, was the art of projecting one's will into this astral light to influence events. Levy's most enduring image is his famous drawing of the Baphomet, which has often been misinterpreted as a satanic figure. For Levy, however, it was a complex symbol of the great magical agent, the astral light. It represents the complete balance of all opposites, male and female, good and evil, mercy and severity, above and below. It is a symbol of the unified cosmos, the one thing of the Emerald Tablet. Through his writings and powerful symbols, Levi cleaned up magic's reputation, distancing it from diabolism and recasting it as a sacred science and a high philosophy, a legitimate path to self-knowledge and divine power. As Levy's ideas spread through the occult subculture of Europe, an even more ambitious and globally minded movement was about to be born. This was Theosophy, blending Western esotericism, Hinduism, Buddhism. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. After years of traveling the world, she arrived in New York City in 1874. She claimed to be an emissary of a secret brotherhood of spiritual masters. In 1875, alongside Henry Steele Olcott and William Quan Judge, she founded the Theosophical Society. Its stated goal, to form a universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race or creed, to encourage the comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science, and to investigate the unexplained laws of nature and the psychic powers latent in man. This final goal initially aligned them with the popular spiritualist movement, but Blavatsky would soon break away, claiming that contact with the dead was a dangerous distraction from true spiritual evolution. Blavatsky's first major work, Isis Unveiled, published in 1877, was a massive, sprawling assault on the materialism of modern science and the dogmatism of modern religion. It was a dense collage of comparative mythology, esoteric history, and occult philosophy, drawing heavily from Levy, the Hermetic tradition, and a vast array of other sources. In it, she argued for the existence of an ancient wisdom religion, a secret doctrine that was the primordial source of all the world's faiths and philosophies. She claimed that this knowledge had been preserved and guarded for millennia by a hidden hierarchy of adepts. The book was a sensation, establishing Blavatsky as a major, if controversial, spiritual teacher. It introduced a Western audience to Eastern concepts like karma and reincarnation, presenting them not as religious beliefs, but as universal, scientific laws of the cosmos. Theosophy offered a comprehensive new map of reality, one that promised to reconcile science with spirituality. It described a universe that was alive, intelligent, and evolving, and a human destiny that spanned millions of years across multiple planets and planes of existence, all part of a grand cosmic plan. The cornerstone of Blavatsky's system and the source of her authority was her claim of contact with a hidden brotherhood of spiritual adepts, known as the Masters or Mahatmas. These were not disembodied spirits, but living human beings who had evolved far beyond ordinary humanity. They were said to reside in remote locations, primarily in Tibet, forming a secret government of the world, guiding the spiritual evolution of the human race. Blavatsky claimed that she was their chosen agent, and that her writings were not her own, but were dictated or inspired directly by them. This gave her teachings the weight of an ultimate, hidden authority. These masters, with names like Kuthumi and Moria, supposedly communicated with Blavatsky and other leading theosophists through psychic means and more physical phenomena. The most famous of these were the precipitated letters. Letters from the masters would mysteriously appear in sealed envelopes, fall from the ceiling during meetings, or be found in unexpected places. These letters contained philosophical instruction, personal guidance, and answers to questions, while critics and later investigations would claim these were elaborate tricks performed by Blavatsky. For her followers, they were undeniable proof of the master's existence and power. In 1888, Blavatsky published her magnum opus, The Secret Doctrine, a monumental 2-volume work that she claimed was a commentary on a secret prehistoric manuscript called the Stanzas of Dzyan, which she had been shown by the masters in a Tibetan monastery. This book presented Theosophy's grand evolutionary cosmology in stunning detail. It described the birth of the universe, the evolution of consciousness through 7 root races of humanity, of which modern humanity is the 5th, and the complex cycles of cosmic time that dwarf all previous conceptions of history. It was an attempt to write a complete history of the universe, from the first flutter of creation to its ultimate dissolution. The secret doctrine became the Bible of the modern occult revival. Its influence on subsequent esoteric movements, art and literature is impossible to overstate. It provided a vast, unifying framework that seemed to explain everything, from the latest scientific discoveries to the most ancient myths. While its historical and scientific claims were fantastical, its spiritual vision was breathtaking. It presented a universe of infinite possibility and a human journey of epic proportions, inspiring countless seekers to look beyond the veil of the ordinary world and to believe they were part of a grand, cosmic drama guided by hidden masters. While Theosophy offered a grand philosophical map of the cosmos, another group emerged in the late 19th century that focused on providing a practical, step-by-step curriculum for becoming a practicing magician. This was the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, founded in London in 1888 by 3 high-ranking Freemasons: William Wynne Westcott, Samuel Liddell MacGregor Mathers, William Robert Woodman. Like Theosophy, the Golden Dawn claimed its authority from a secret, ancient source. Westcott purported to have discovered a cipher manuscript written in code, which contained the skeletal rituals for a magical order. The manuscript also contained the address of an alleged Rosicrucian adept in Germany, named Anna Sprengel, who supposedly authorized the 3 founders to establish an English branch of this ancient order. Whether the manuscript and Fräulein Sprengel were real or a pious fraud, the system that Mathers in particular created based on this foundation was a work of genius. He synthesized the entire Western esoteric tradition, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, Enochian magic, tarot, astrology, alchemy, into a single, coherent, and workable system of magical training. The order was structured as a series of 10 degrees, patterned after the 10 Sephiroth of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. A new member would start as a neophyte and progress through a series of initiations, each one a complex psychodrama designed to awaken specific energies within the candidate's psyche and open them up to corresponding spiritual planes. As they advanced, they were given systematic instruction in the various occult sciences. They learned how to perform banishing rituals, how to scry, how to make talismans, and how to travel in the body of light on the astral planes. It was a true magical university. The Golden Dawn attracted some of the most brilliant and artistic minds of the era. Its members included the poet W.B. Yeats, the actress Florence Farr, the author Arthur Machen, and the artist Pamela Coleman Smith, who would later design the famous Rider-Waite tarot deck under the guidance of fellow member A.E. Waite. Out of the creative and volatile environment of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn emerged the single most famous and infamous occultist of the 20th century, Aleister Crowley. A brilliant poet, a world-class mountaineer, a skilled chess player, a master of self-promotion. Crowley was a rebellious genius who dedicated his life to breaking every social and religious taboo he could find. He joined the Golden Dawn in 1898, quickly rose through its ranks and mastered its curriculum with astonishing speed. His rebellious nature and his open embrace of darker forms of magic brought him into conflict with the Order's leadership. Crowley saw himself as a prophet destined to overthrow the old religions and inaugurate a new age of human history. He grew dissatisfied with the Golden Dawn's methods, too restrictive, too focused on a Christianized Kabbalah. He embarked on world travels, studied yoga, studied Tantra, performed rituals in Egypt, performed rituals in the Sahara. The pivotal moment occurred in Cairo in 1904. On honeymoon with his wife Rose, she entered spontaneous trances, said Horus was trying to contact him. He followed her instructions, entered his hotel room on 3 successive days at noon, and wrote down what he claimed was a dictation from Iwas. The result? Liber al vel legis, the Book of the Law. It became the holy scripture of a new religion, thelema, from the Greek for will. The book announced the Aeon of Horus, a 2,000-year era defined by individualism, self-realization, and the overthrow of the old slave gods. It declared a new moral code: do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Crowley spent the rest of his life as the self-proclaimed prophet, took the title The Great Beast 666, embraced the Christian apocalypse defiantly, and worked to interpret and spread the law of Thelema. To propagate his teachings, Crowley established his own magical orders, the AA, the Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO Crowley's system of magic, which he spelled with a K to differentiate it from stage magic, is a set of spiritual and psychological techniques designed to help the individual discover and accomplish their true will. It is a highly individualistic path. Crowley synthesized the Golden Dawn's ceremonial magic, Eastern practices like yoga, meditation, as well as his own innovations, including a strong emphasis on sexual magic, the use of sexual energy and orgasm as a powerful engine for magical operations. He believed that the union of opposites was the key to all creation: male principle, female principle. Despite being vilified by the press of his day as the wickedest man in the world, Crowley's influence on modern occultism and counterculture is immense. He wrote prolifically, publishing dozens of books that are still considered essential reading for any serious student of magic. His work represents the culmination of the 19th century revival, a final, radical break with traditional religious morality, and a bold reimagining of magic as a path of supreme personal liberation and self-deification. He set the tone and provided the vocabulary for much of the esoteric thought that would follow in the 20th and 21st centuries. The occult revival of the 19th century and the towering figures of Blavatsky and Crowley did not remain confined to secret societies and esoteric circles. Their ideas seeped into the very groundwater of modern culture, influencing art, literature, music, spirituality in ways that are still being felt today. The theosophical vision of cosmic evolution and spiritual planes influenced early abstract artists, Wassily Kandinsky, Piet Mondrian, who sought to paint unseen spiritual realities. The movement gave people a new language to talk about spirituality outside the confines of mainstream religion. The legacy of the Golden Dawn is equally pervasive. Its system of correspondences, linking the tarot to Kabbalah, became the standard model for most modern tarot decks and interpretation. The Rider, Waite, Smith deck, the most recognizable tarot deck, is a direct product of Golden Dawn teachings. The order emphasized ceremonial magic, astral travel, structured initiation, which influenced the modern Wiccan movement founded by Gerald Gardner, and later chaos magic. Aleister Crowley's influence is especially visible in popular music. His declaration, "Do what thou wilt," was quoted by countless rock and metal bands. The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper cover, Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, and Crowley memorabilia. Crowley's anti-authoritarian image made him an icon for counter-cultural artists. In the 21st century, these threads are woven into the internet and modern media. The language of astrology, the symbolism of the tarot, and manifestation personal will have become mainstream. Simultaneously, beliefs about secret societies fueled conspiracy theories, Illuminati imagery, QAnon online movements. The occult, once hidden, is now a powerful and often misunderstood cultural force, a testament to humanity's fascination with the unknown. We have traveled a long and shadowed path together, tracing a hidden history that flows like an unseen river beneath the foundations of our world. We began in the sun-drenched temples of Egypt, secret rites of the Nile Valley, coded symbols of the alchemists, magical circles of the Renaissance Magi, countercultural movements of the modern era. We have seen how these ideas have shaped art, inspired revolutions, and fueled the highest aspirations and the darkest fears of humanity. The story of the occult is not a footnote to history. It is a vital and often disruptive force, challenging how we see ourselves and our place in the universe. A history of questions at the very edge of our knowledge. This documentary, a brief introduction, a glimpse into a vast world. We have only scratched the surface. For every figure we've mentioned, 100 more wait. For every text we've discussed, thousands lie hidden in archives and libraries. If this exploration has sparked your curiosity, continue the journey. Read the original texts for yourself. Explore the works of the great scholars. Approach the subject with an open but critical mind. The legacy of the occult is all around us, woven into the language we speak, the art we admire, and the questions we ask. It persists in our fascination with astrology, tarot, in the narratives of our fantasy films and literature, and even in the complex world of online conspiracy theories, which often echo the Gnostic fear of a hidden power controlling the world. The occult, in all its varied forms, offers a path of personal experience rather than inherited belief. It tells the seeker that they do not need to take truth on faith from a priest or a professor. They can discover it for themselves. This quest is also a search for meaning in a cosmos that can often feel random and indifferent. The Hermetic principle of as above, so below transforms the universe from a cold, mechanical clockwork into a living, breathing symphony of meaning. It suggests our lives are not accidents, but are woven into a grand cosmic tapestry of correspondence. The patterns in the stars, the turning of the seasons, the symbols in our dreams, all become part of a divine language that can be learned. This worldview restores a sense of enchantment to the world. We are participants in a great and mysterious drama, not just passive observers. Furthermore, the occult is a profound exploration of power. Not necessarily the power to command spirits or to bend reality, but the power of the self. The alchemical work of transforming lead into gold is a metaphor for self-transformation. The magician's art of causing change in conformity with will is a discipline of self-mastery. These traditions teach that the greatest untapped frontier is not outer space, but inner space. Within the human mind and soul lies a universe of potential, psychic abilities, creative genius, spiritual enlightenment, waiting to be unlocked. This promise of empowerment is eternally seductive. The final thread, in the end, is in your own hands. The occult tradition is not blind acceptance of secret doctrines. It is about the individual's courage to ask profound questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the nature of reality? It is the path of the seeker, the one who is not content with easy answers. The history of the occult testifies to the enduring power of that search. The greatest mystery is not in a grimoire or a secret lodge, but within the depths of the human heart and mind, waiting to be explored.